10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Drag racing fans, what is up? What's going on? It is time now, right now, the Power Hour. If you are on, like, hit, subscribe, share, do whatever you need to do. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever you're on. Tell your friends, your loved ones, your auntie, your uncle, your brother, your cousin. It is time right now to log in to Competition Plus Power Hour. Man, it's crazy to think that this show has been going on this long, having guests like we have tonight, the Cannonball, Scotty Cannon, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy behind the mysterious sunglasses himself. But you know what? I can't do this without another guy that's got some funky sunglasses, a nice beard, and is always having fun on the ones and twos behind the camera, in front of the camera. And that is my co-host, my brother from another mother. That is, wait, 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 wait. I can't say it yet. That is the Monday Morning Racer, Lee Craft. Lee, how's it going today?
It's going really well, and it's good to be right here on the Power Hour on Competition Plus, on the Facebook page, on Twitter. Yes, you can follow Competition Plus on Twitter as well, and the YouTube channel. Subscribe, follow on Facebook and Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that share button, hit that like button. And Sam, it's good to talk about drag racing. There's always something to talk about in drag racing. But Sam, there are times in which, and too often in drag racing, I think here lately, throughout the sport, we have to make mention of a passing and have people in our thoughts and prayers. And Australia hit hard. One of their top competitors, a longtime competitor, a certainly influential person in Australian drag racing, Sam Finnick, he passed away in a terrible, I think top slammer is what they say for Pro Mod down under, in an accident at their latest event in their drag racing that they have, professional drag racing. So we have, once again, Sam, someone again in a door car losing their life in drag racing. It is a dangerous sport, and we certainly should appreciate the people that strap themselves in these machines to entertain us ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes, like you said, heartfelt moment there for drag racing and down there for all of our Australian counterparts that are down there and that that we get to talk to and love the accents. But it's one of those things where we look back and we're like, you know, how did this happen? What can we do? Um, what can we do to change these type of events, or what can we do to better the safety equipment? And when you look at this picture here in the cockpit of the car, I mean, it's just one of those things where I think everyone involved is wondering how, but it's a freak accident. I mean, just to put relevance on everything like this, I mean, we saw how one football player has changed kind of the dynamics of everyone right now. In one moment, everything can change. And so, it's just one of those things where I know it may seem cliche to some, but we never know when that moment's going to be. You know what I mean? So if it's enjoying, that moment that you're in with drag racing, if it's enjoying the, 8-hour car ride to wherever you're going, to a racetrack, or spending time with family or a loved one, just enjoy that time, because you never know, what may happen. To the racetrack, the race promoters, the sponsors, and everyone that's involved, our condolences to you guys. But I think right now, like, it takes one of these moments to make us realize, okay, am I enjoying what I'm doing? Am I relevantly in the moment of what I'm doing? Because who knows what the situation was like right before he strapped into the car, so it just takes it full circle. And I mean, this is our race family, whether it's in Australia, whether it's in Dubai, or wherever else in the world that you are racing. I mean, to lose someone that's in the race community and the race culture, it affects worldwide.
It certainly does, and I do hope, Drag Racing Central asks, you think this will affect how, or people will take a closer look at door slammer downforce. Well, we've even asked Stevie Fast Jackson, who will be on the show later tonight, and he's mentioned there's ways to correct it, and that it should be looked at, and it might not have been looked at by the people that need to look at it, but there are certainly, I think, some issues in particular with the fast door cars that we have in our day and time. I mean, Sam, it is amazing. I remember watching just testing at Virginia Motorsports Park, and Ricky Smith goes 252 miles per hour. I'm thinking, I'm like, we're under 50 miles per hour more to 300 in a door car. It's absolutely insane what they're doing today.
And Lee, I mean, and that's why I tell you day in and day out whenever we do talk, that's why I'm a door guy. Like it's insane the progress that we've made. It's insane. I say we because I when I say we, just to clarify, that is just the racing community. It's insane to believe that someone, straps himself to pretty much a live burning explosion, or straps himself in front of one, behind one, whichever way you want to look at it, to go 300 and something mile an hour. But in a door car, if you would have asked 10 years ago, hey, did you think this was going to happen? No. I mean, just the improvements and technology day in and day out. I mean, we talked about that last week here on the show, right? Technology, what DSR, DSM, DSE, DSABC, X, Y, and Z, what all they're doing at the DS plus. Exact, like what I mean? Like, I mean, I say DSA because it's or I don't even know if it would be A. I mean, they're doing stuff with the Air Force, so DS, Don Schumacher / Air Force, whatever. And then he's got the electrical. He's probably got a clothing line coming out here, so that's C. I mean, so it's gonna keep evolving, and it's just being excited about what's gonna happen next.
For sure. And a lot of good things are going to happen next. In all that is said, condolences to those down under and everyone involved and everyone that enjoys drag racing. Look, enjoy it. And remember that these people, their life is on the line in one shape, form, fashion, or another. It is not guaranteed, and appreciate that. And like the next time someone is a jerk to you, take it a little easier. I don't know. Just overlook it. Move on. Sam, we're not done with the door car discussion, though. The NHRA today dropped what we can expect for Factory X that everyone is extremely excited about. Well, I think everyone. And I know Andrew Osterhaus, he's already asking, look, there's only one car as of now that we know has been built. There are many being built, though. And how do you think they're going to be ready for this year? And the answer to that, Andrew, is the schedule. The first two races are exhibition. I'm not really expecting a 16-car field for exhibitions. I bet they're going to be less than that, hopefully 8. Maybe it's just 4, but it could be just 2 that we see in the first exhibition races in this schedule, which is slotted, I believe, for Charlotte and Bristol. But, Sam, it's something – I think this class and it going to be, yes, exhibitions and then have races, and the places that they selected, they're definitely in door slammer country. And I think people are going to go to these races. Yes, they want to see fuel just like anyone else does, but the eyes of the collective NHRA drag racing world is going to be on Factory X to see what these cars do.
This is, Lee, if people are hating or wondering what the car field's going to be like, look at it this way. We've been waiting for this for so long. So 2 exhibition races and then 6 points events. The fact that NHRA is coming out and saying, hey, the first 2 are just going to be exhibitions, right? But then we're going to have 6 points events should give you an inkling, or just maybe it's me in this little, peanut thing I got on top of my neck that I call a brain, that has a head attached to it. But that kind of tells me that NHRA either knows something or has figured out something, or that figured out what's going to happen to where they can plan to say, hey, we're going to have 6-point events. So, I mean, that's just what that tells me. And when I read that, when I saw that earlier, if you, I mean, I don't want to say put the pieces to the puzzle together, but they must know something.
The only thing that I'm surprised about in this schedule is they didn't get slotted to run at the U.S. Nationals in Indy, the biggest drag race in the world. And one that you would think you would want to showcase a new class at, but they didn't get scheduled for that right away. Very interesting move, I think.
But, okay, would you take, well, I can't. Would you take a team that's got half the roster or a quarter of its roster to the Super Bowl?
I think, yes, stick and ball sports, what you're talking about, your analogy works perfectly. But we also have had at Indy exhibition classes before that weren't even official NHRA classes. So why not have this one that you are attempting to, it seems like, tout as a second coming of what Pro Stock in essence should be?
For me, I just, if I'm looking at it, I don't want to give a half performance. You know what I mean? Like, I would relate this to the game last night that we all kind of had to suffer and watch through, but I don't want to go there. I wouldn't bring, like, for me personally, if we're not going to have a full class, I wouldn't like to see it be, just because of the nature of what the U.S. National means. I mean, how many times do we, just like last year, we saw how many hundreds and hundreds of cars show up? And I mean, yes, would it be cool to see maybe 1 or 2 exhibition passes? Yeah, but to have them slotted in a field and maybe only have, let's just say, an 8-car field or a 10-car field, me personally, I wouldn't like, not that I wouldn't like to see it, but I would like to see a full field. But I mean, that's one of those questions that I think we should ask our insider when we get to that point too, is maybe what he thinks about that.
Well, it is that time. Let's take a break, and we're going to bring Bobby Bennett on and see what info he's got for us. And later on, he's going to bring to us our guest in Scotty Cannon. He's over there, had to get things set up, ready to go. So we're going to take a break with Weldon High Performance. They keep the show pumping, and they produce pumps that will certainly pump anything concerning your high application needs. Weldon High Performance. If I can find the commercial. Right here. Bobby Bennett, and look at the race machines. And is that a boat? Is that a boat behind you?
That's a Corvette.
Oh.
I'm at Scotty Cannon's shop right now.
All
and not telling what he's getting ready for, but I'm just saying that stuff's moving here. You can see the man in the background.
Right. He's working, he's shaking and baking and getting things ready to go. And we've seen him warming up a car, so we're definitely looking forward to chatting with him later.
Okay, guys, let's get right into it and let's talk about Indy. Okay? All right. We got Top Fuel Shootout. Don't we have a Top Fuel Shootout?
That's still Gators, I believe.
Okay. Well, we got a funny car shootout, right? All right. Then we got Pro Mods running there, Mountain Motor Pro Stock, Pro Stock's Pro Stock Bike. You've got all the sportsman classes, every one of the sportsman classes, plus you got Top Fuel Harley. So tell me where you got room to put any more cars. You're already having to park the mountain motor cars all the way down at the circle track. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't have 2 cars there doing the exhibition, but not a full class. Now, from what I hear from my sources coming up for the Factory X, and we like my all-time introduction. Here's the latest news on Factory X. Okay. Now, well, we really do have some news this time. I have been told that as many as 11 or 12 cars may be ready to run by the time we go into the points deal. Now, I wouldn't put it past some of the guys to use their factory stock showdown cars as a placeholder until their new cars are built. But I can tell you, I talked to Jerry Bickle today, and he's kind of hoping maybe March or April to roll first Factory X car out of his shop. So that's what I got to tell you about that. In addition to the things that are happening at Indy, it may be Indy and it may be another track, but I can tell you in play, there's a $50,000 to win 8-car shootout for Comp Eliminator coming up sometime this year.
Oh, wow.
Could be Indy, and then it could be the Texas Motorplex.
That's good news for the Comp Eliminator guys.
That's
and definitely a class that deserves it.
Big time for Comp Eliminator. And they raced, remember the final round for Comp Eliminator at Dallas was $100,000 on the line. When have you ever heard that in Comp Eliminator? So that's some big time stuff we got going on.
Question for you, Bobby.
I'm hearing rumors that there may be one of the cars in the top 10 expands to a second car, but I can't. Yeah, Scotty, they all heard you. But I'm hearing that there may be a single car expanding to 2 cars here in the next couple of months. And just glad to be back with you guys. I was a little bit down under the weather here for the last couple of episodes. And we're just shaking and baking at Competition Plus. Big things running. We're starting to get a hold on the website after our friends with the bots tried to attack us and take us down. You better bring more than that if you're coming after us, Bo. 23 years of Competition Plus, and we're not going to let hackers take us down.
So, Bobby, what's out there content-wise here recently on the Competition Plus YouTube channel? What's the latest update on the Legends series?
Legends, I'm working on Buddy Martin of the legendary Sox and Martin team. That's what's on the storyboard right now for Legends, a series to come up next. Probably dropping in the next week or so a documentary on our friend Lyle Barnett that goes in depth about his fight just to absolutely come back to life with a new normal. I mean, I've watched this video and I've got probably close to 50 hours invested in this video, and I still watch it every time and it still gets my heart. It's not because of my work. It's because of the words of Lyle Barnett. It's absolutely inspirational. Now, I will tell you that one of the things that's coming up in my mind just went blank on me. Sorry, post-COVID stuff. But, oh well, I'll just have to do it next show. But this guy, Scotty Cannon, he's working on a car. Would be awful great to see him back out there again.
So, Bobby, you got a question coming.
Oh, yeah.
You got a question coming in.
Let's go back. The Australia deal. I can tell you that the accident had very little to do with downforce, and there are investigations going on to some of the stuff. And I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I can tell you that there's a lot of talk and a lot of people being proactive in making sure what happened to Sam doesn't happen to anybody else. You can go back on some videos and look. If you go back to, I think it was 2004, not 2004, 2014, 2015, when Benny Bray had his crash in the Sport Compact car, look at it and then look at Sam's crash. You'll see a lot of similarities to that exact area on the track. So I'm just saying that there are a lot of stuff that's being bantered around in Australia. And it's not negative stuff. It's just being proactive. And the folks over at Speed Cafe had an interesting article where the government's even looking into some of this stuff. So it's just some things that we'll keep an eye on.
That's the best thing, being proactive after a situation like this instead of saying, well, that's racing.
Right. That's not racing.
Right. I frankly, as a fan and now in media, I'm tired of hearing, well, that's racing. I'm tired of it. Let's figure it out.
You know, I think that from the first time I was credentialed at 18 years old on an IHRA national event, a drag race, and on the starting line, I watched a world champion lose his life right in front of me. And I think that was my introduction to this sport. Is very dangerous, and every time can be the last time. I mean, when a seasoned world champion loses his life, and that year in 1985, we lost 2 world champions. We lost Lee Shepard and we lost the great Don Young, who if you know this guy named David Rampy's mentor. So that's the reality of the sport we work in, and you know, face this all the way. And there was even a cameraman that was involved in the accident too. So, you know, we've had incidents where members of the media were also hurt. Ian Tucker, the Ronnie Davis incident. I mean, we were there, and it was just terrible. And I crossed paths with those 2 guys just an hour before that deadly run. So it's just a reminder our sport can be the greatest sport in the world, but it can also be the most unforgiving as well.
So, Bobby, got a question for you here. Just came in. Anything on the Vance and Hines new rider?
Yes. And the name that we're hearing that we cannot confirm, so I will not even come close to reporting it, will not be within your usual suspects. You'll see somebody new. That's what we're hearing.
Interesting. Okay.
But we have heard that the rider is already selected, but you know, we're not going to do the hearsay or rumor or whatever. But we can tell you it's not in the usual riders.
That
And
coming
my last
to
question
you from the FTI rumor mill. No.
That's right.
Yeah, and so my last question for you here, Bobby, we had Alex Laughlin on last week, and he was talking about, you know, getting the chance to be in the car, and you know, as he posted today, sitting down in the car for the first time, you know, him getting behind the engine, behind the wheel, or the steering handles, as I call them, in those funny cars. What do your knowledge of Alex, your knowledge of seeing him as a driver, how do you think testing will go for him?
I think it'll be business as usual. I think this guy's pretty much proven that he could drive anything. You put wheels on a banana and he'll drive it. You know, take one of those log rides at Six Flags or whatever. Put a nitro motor on it. He'll drive it to the finish line, or he'll light it up trying. But the guy's a driver. I would not expect there to be any kind of a learning curve. I believe he'll just jump right in there and do as we've seen him do plenty of times. You guys got anything else?
So Dragster Jeff Kreider mentions, I look forward to Lyle's story. I look forward to that coming out. Lyle's got a great story, and he lives it out and says it right now in the moment. But to have something to watch and people go through it and see it, and especially I think now where he's even risen to greater popularity, that's definitely going to be a good piece.
Well, the good thing, the interesting thing about this is we shot it at Charlotte, and on Saturday of Charlotte was like the 5th year anniversary, or not the 5th year, but the 7th year anniversary to the day of his accident. So it was kind of emotional already there. We were on the starting line at Z-Max Dragway. And look, guys, part of being a journalist is knowing when to ask the questions and when not to ask the questions. But there was nothing off limits. And the thing that really got me is how straight up and straightforward Lyle was about his battle with the dark times. And I think we can figure out what the dark times were, and how his faith and the support of his family and the medical personnel helped him out of the dark place. But he was definitely in a dark place. And look, it may be insensitive to ask those questions, but he didn't have to answer any of them. And he did. He wanted to get that word out in case there was somebody in a similar situation to where he was at.
Right.
So, guys, I guess, have we got Stevie Fast in studio yet?
He just popped into the green room, yes.
Well, then I will step away and let the fast one come in, because I'll be prepping Cannonball here. The Mohawk one will be coming right after Stevie Fast. So you got about as potent of a 1-2 punch. And oh, by the way, you guys know who you have next week?
I believe you dropped in the text earlier today, a.k.a. Blazemore? No, Bazemore.
Bazemore.
Yes.
With Bazemore on next week. Do not miss it, because you know he's not leaving his politically correctness back at home.
Looking forward to having some time chatting with him. His story of, I mean, really documenting the sport. I don't think people realize. They don't realize, like a lot of people don't realize some of the most iconic shots. They're a Whit Bazemore shot, well before he was ever in a car. So you got a lot to talk about.
At high school, can you imagine being in high school and getting the gig to shoot for R.J. Reynolds, shoot drag racing, and have the front row seat to one of the greatest eras in drag racing?
Man, that's a cool deal.
Yep. Next week. Stay tuned.
All right. Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, guys. Scotty will be up here after Stevie Fast.
All right, folks, we're going to take a break, and right after the break, Stevie Fast Jackson.
If you want to take your vehicle's performance to new heights, you got to give it P. Like our original equipment technology, antifreeze, and coolant. Our formulas match the vehicle manufacturer's technology requirements so that we have the perfect match for every vehicle. That's one reason why Peak is among the fastest growing brands of coolant in America. We work harder to earn the trust of people like you every day.
And Stevie Fast Jackson on the Competition Plus Power Hour. He took him a little break, got him some lemon water and honey all heated up after the first episode of Shake and Bake. How did it go, man? Well, Mr. Barnett.
Man, it was great. I had a fun time. It's really good to get to interact with the fans on that type of level. I don't know how the show did as far as if people liked it or not, but it's for me and Lyle is really great to kind of be ourselves. And we're car guys. I like bull crapping around, bullshitting around and talking about race cars. And it's fun to get to do that with a bunch of your buddies. You know, we all grow up as car folks and hang around the shop talking about cars and race cars and hot rods. And that's what this show is going to be. It's just going to be a bunch of us buddies hanging around and bullcrapping about cars.
I like it. I like it when drivers and people in this world decide to take some control of the narrative and just talk and say, hey, this is what we think. This is what's going on, and have some fun with it.
Yeah, you got to have fun. A lot of times I think we all forget that we're very fortunate to do what we get to do. And too many times we're unable to laugh at ourselves, and really we're all a bunch of idiots. And if you can laugh at yourself and have fun and rib along a little bit and kind of inspire some rivalry, that's what we all need. Speaking of rivalry, I'm excited to see Scotty Cannon coming out later, man. Bobby asked me if I'd come on the show and told me Scotty was going to be on here. And I was like, shit, I want to go after him so I can watch him. But that's a guy who's never been scared to get a rivalry going. It's going to be a good deal.
It is going to be a good deal. It is going to be a good deal.
So, Stevie, I mean, I got to ask. You guys put the dog stumping on TCU last night. I saw the koozie. I know you're a big Georgia boy.
Look at that back there. You see that wall of value back there? How about them big old hairy, stinky, nasty bulldogs? I don't want to hear nothing from nobody about no one-hit wonders, none of this bull crap. All these buddies I got, Tennessee fans and Game Chicken fans and all these dang Florida fans and Bama fans, all I hear the whole time is how anybody can do it once. Well, yeah, one time is an accident and 2 times is a we blew your tail out. How about them dogs?
All right.
Nobody going to say nothing. They wasn't ready to go this time. I think they sandbagged against Ohio State a little bit, maybe just to come out and just kill them. I mean, TCU was never in that football game.
No.
Yeah. That was a dog. I'm just going to call it not a donkey kicking, but a dog stumping.
That was a freight train donkey gap.
That's a new one. We got to put that one on a T-shirt.
That's even worse than traditional donkey gap. That's freight train donkey gap. That means you can park a freight train sideways between them 2 teams.
Yeah, that's
Lee,
what happened.
I just want to know, Lee, are we going to get invited to the Shake and Bake show? I mean, how cool would that be? Like
the list is going to be short of folks who will actually say what they think. I want to get you on there. We got to get Scotty on there. We got to get Bobby Bennett on there. Good Lord, if we can ever get John Force on there, we'll all get thrown out of racing. The problem is folks like that, they're going to actually lose sponsors from being on the Shake and Bake show. I seen Clay was poking around in there. I'm going to get Clay on there, and he can talk about – Clay is wanting to call me out with Dentley. I know he wants to call out Ronnie. He just feels bad because Ronnie ain't done yet. But as soon as that thing fires up, he's going to be calling me out.
I did I caught the opening of the show, and you were like, the doctor said, well, nobody should be drag racing.
That's what they told me. So what's funny is NHRA pulls my competition license this week. I don't know if y'all know what happens when you get some kind of crazy surgery or whatever, but they're all the nerds in California go out there and they get on the internet and figure out what happened to you. So they send you this big old email and stuff, and you got to get medically cleared before you can come back to race. And they're like, how you doing? I'm like, well, there's a hole in my throat the size of a peach, so I'm not doing good. Anybody know that they do reconstructive neck surgery from the front? I wake up, I'm like, dang, why is a hole here? I figured they'd do it back there. Anyway, so they take your license. They send you this form you got to carry to your doctor and get them to sign it. And this form says, okay, I just sewed this redneck back together because he crashed a car and broke his neck. I have to put my name on it and say that he is okay to crash a car at 250 miles an hour. It won't kill him. His no mental or physical defects, and he's good to go. What doctor are you going to get to sign that? I'm about to go to Mexico and get a doc in the box to sign that thing. So yeah, the first thing that my orthopedic surgeon said is, this is not good for you. He said, you're not supposed to do this.
Hey, I might know a doctor up here. He signs off on everything. So
I might need it. I'm going to go to medical school by the time I get somebody to say that it's all right for me to hit the wall at 250 and it's good for me. It ain't safe to hit the wall at 30 miles an hour. So,
no.
Anybody that says
You hit
any of you that ever have hit the wall at 250, that's a show, son. That's a pay attention right now moment.
You get a
Hey, we
deer
got
at
some comments
30
in
mile
there.
an hour.
Everybody's wanting. I don't know if y'all caught the end of the Shake and Bake show. I'm selling Lyle Barnett a box wine sponsorship. So we got box wine and Who Chargers to the front. Yingling won't sponsor Lyle, so I'm going after the box wine companies first thing in the morning.
Hey, I'm sure he would drink box wine if he got a deal.
Whatever it takes. I'm in it to win it. I can't drive, so I might as well have the best out there driving.
Box wine.
Yeah.
So, Stevie, I mean, yeah, you have doctors saying that they won't sign off on you. NHRA is, coming down on you, coming down the horn and just saying, no, like, we need you to be medically cleared. You obviously feel fine. You're up and moving. For you, what is something like this, like, in your career and how you are a person that's always at the racetrack, always energetic, always wanting more? How does this, like, mentally take a toll on you and physically take a toll on you?
Man, it's the physical ability to not be able to do stuff that takes the toll. Right after this surgery, I get everybody coming out. I'm pretty private about my private life, medical stuff. I get a bunch of people coming out, we're sorry, woe is me, blah, blah, blah. I did this to myself. I don't need, I appreciate the sympathy, but when you do what I do, I've been on the racetrack 7,000 times. And I'm not exaggerating. Like, we added it up. I don't know the exact number, but it's approaching 7,000 runs. So when you've done that, you're going to have some bad bumps. And I deserve to have my neck broke. If you want to win as bad as I do, you're going to wreck some race cars. My percentage is probably better than anybody when you look how many times I've been on a racetrack. But it's mentally defeating to not be able to physically do stuff. I still have a bunch of pain right now. But I can't pick stuff up. I love lifting. I love working out in the gym. I love doing anything outdoors. I like guns. I like shooting. I like riding horses. I like doing anything my mom always tells me that she says, why does everything that makes you happy will almost kill you? And that's a fact. Not being able to pick stuff up or bend over is the worst thing. Like, I want to bolt a transmission in a car today, and I got to get somebody to do it. And before, I just build the transmission and throw it in there, and now it's an hour job. And I'm really anal about how I do stuff. So, like, getting people to do things like I do them is difficult. But at the same time, I know this is a short time frame. I know, like, the hardest part of it is behind me. I got physical therapy coming up in a couple weeks, and we'll start rebuilding some of the muscles that they hack through and stuff like that. But I know the worst is behind me. I've been in a lot of pain for a long time. I don't talk about it, but it's been pretty rough for several years now. And I already am feeling better than what I did before I had surgery. And if you're 2.5, 3 weeks out and you already feel better than what you did before, it's going to be a good deal. I'm staying out until they clear me. Don't want to drive until they clear me. I don't need NHRA or anybody else to tell me not to get in a car. I do not want to have this surgery again. This is not fun. It's not exciting. Everybody's like, oh, you're going to get some time off and get to rest and lay on the couch and watch TV. I don't like watching TV unless there's drag racing on it. All I do is race cars and play with hot rods. So it's mentally defeating to not be able to physically do the stuff that I want to do. But I know this is just like going to college. This is going to be a building year, not only for me and my team. I'm really excited about the task we have. And I always take I'm an eternal optimist. So when you stack the cards up beside me, I'm going to find the ace in that card deck. And I'm excited about the opportunity that I have this year to kind of showcase the other side of the coin. You always hear me say I like tuning them as much as or more than I like driving them. And this year I'm going to get to play with some really fast hot rods. And I get to showcase the tuning side of what I do. And it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting standing on the starting line and watching the fruits of the labor.
Yeah, speaking of partnerships, and building a new partnership with Sydney Frigo, North American, South American connection. And that's a man that has put a lot of time, effort, and money into the sport, took his own bumps. What do you think the partnership can do for him in particular, and then yourself?
Man, I'm excited about it. I told him when we first started, I want to see you win more than you want to win. And he's like, no. And I do. I mean it. I want to see that man win, and he's going to win. I'm going to give him a race car that can win. And he's a good driver. He's going to take that tool I give him, and he's going to hurt some feelings. And I think it's going to be a really good partnership on both levels. One, I can't race much this year, at least till mid-season. And I really have a lot of respect for the folks that built ProMod. And Sidney Frigo is one of the folks that built ProMod. He was there since the early days. When I started wanting to race ProMod, he was already racing ProMod and doing successful. The man's driven top fuel cars. He'll drive anything with wheels on it. And he's a great guy. He's a good ambassador, a good international ambassador for our sport. Artavinco is a huge company in Brazil. And I'm looking forward to going down there and playing with some hot rods down there, as well as trying to make him a little more competitive than he's been in the past. The number one rule I have when I run a car for somebody is always the first thing I always ask them, do you love drag racing? And if you do, what have you done to prove that? That man's got a laundry list a mile long of stuff he's done to prove he loves racing. And number two is, do you want to win? Because if you don't want to win, if you won't bleed and sweat and suffer with me in the trenches to win, it's not going to be good. And I can tell you from conversations with Sidney and watching the investment he's made in our sport the last decade and watching what we got coming together for this year, he wants to win. And we're going to win. I'm going to put that man on the pole. We're coming right out. I'm giving him everything. This ain't going to be a deal where you hadn't been here a long time, you don't get the good motors and stuff. He's going to be running the best shit I got with the best blowers I got with the best tune-up I got. We're going to go out there and swing at it.
So when you have that, I guess that advantage that you're going to have now, and seeing, okay, if we try this or we're trying this, and you're seeing other people try your adjustments, like you said, that's one of the things that drives you forward. And you look back over, what you've done helping Lyle and with your connections with like Doug Cook that you have now and all these people that you're pulling in and you're connecting. How does that work in Stevie's, I guess, business model, and also in your advantage when you do get back behind the wheel, because you've now had time to try this or see, how other people react to the adjustments and changes that you make?
I've always tried to lead from the front, and that's a double-edged sword. And what I mean by leading from the front is I've never been one to follow and do what anybody else is doing. I don't wander around the pits when I get lost. We all get lost running cars. I mean, every single person out there, the best of the best gets lost from time to time. I've never been one to ask for help, and I don't pay attention to what anybody else is doing. That's good from the standpoint of if you're trying what everybody else is already trying, then you're not thinking for yourself and you're not ever going to get anything first. It's bad on the side that some people will try some cool shit that works sometimes, and it'll take you 6 months to even realize it because I just don't pay attention to it. So it's a double-edged sword. I've always led from the front, and I don't really care what anybody else is doing. I care about the qualifying sheet. The qualifying sheet in what we do in heads-up racing, that's your report card. You can't control all the time whether you win or lose the race. But if you're averaging qualifying well, the car is performing well. If you're averaging qualifying 10th, you suck. You're not going to win a lot of races down there. So what this partnership is going to allow me to do is I'm going to have some R&D budget to think outside the box and showcase the level of engines that we have here, the level of technology that we have at KTR. I don't do business with the public. If you buy parts or engines from me, it's because we got a good relationship and I trust you a lot. I have gates out front to where the public's not even allowed in here because I don't want to do business with the public. So my business model is different than some of these other companies. But KTR is in the motorsports solution business. We have been for a while. We're expanding that going forward to make it to where if you want to compete in a championship style drag racing car and you want to have top-notch parts and you want to have top-notch service, you're going to want to be here. We're going to offer a solution to run there going down the road. And partnering with somebody that is dedicated to our sport like Artavinko and Sydney Frigo, and not just Sydney, but I've got some other customers, Timmy Meisner's RVW car. Timmy and I are partners. We started toward the end of last year, and we're going to make a run at the Radio Versatile World Championship with his Mustang this year. He's got a Reese Brothers race car chassis, and we got him some horsepower under the hood now, and we're gonna go out and take that car and run good. You don't see me working on a lot of people's stuff. I'm not one of these guys that works on 10 cars, but I promise you, if I'm standing behind it and I'm working on it, it's going to be fast. And the experience from everything always washes the other one's hand. We always did well in Pro Mod because the shadow was always on radials trying new stuff. And we would take that and incorporate that technology into Pro Mod. Same vice versa. You find something that'll make a engine live 5.5 to 5.7 seconds in a quarter mile. You can always make the 8th mile stuff faster. So they wash their hands. They help each other. And this year is we're going to show you guys what the business side of KTR is all about this year. And there's going to be some people that like it, and there's going to be some people that don't like it.
Stevie, NHRA Pro Mod, it seems like the fan base, media, definitely polarizing when people talk about it, if things are moving in the right direction and parity and who's in, who's out, who's retiring or not. What do you see as the 2023 preview from Stevie Fast Jackson on NHRA Pro Mod in particular?
For the last couple of years, it's been doom and gloom. For 2023, I'm as excited as I've ever been. We are on the way back up. We have new blood coming in. We have people building new cars. You're going to see drivers you haven't seen before. We've got new teams coming. My phone is ringing off the hook, people wanting to lease cars to come run NHRA Pro Mod. If I had 10 NHRA Pro Mod teams sitting out here right now and I could staff them, I could lease them, and I could lease them today. And I think this year, the COVID and the Pro Charger lack of parity, you brought up parity, and I'm glad you brought that up. The lack of parity is one of the huge things that drove us into the 7, 8, 9, 10 cars at the end of the season car count. The fact that we're getting some parity back, and now everybody's getting to where it's a couple of 300s and you don't have to have a Pro Charger to win anymore. That's what makes people, not only new people want to come, but new people want to come back. We've got a handful of guys that used to race with us before that quit, that are coming back for 2023. You're going to see full fields. You're going to see fast race cars. Guys are investing in our sport. We have some really exciting things on the business side of NHRA Pro Mod that are going to get announced in the next couple of weeks. We were far enough along to announce it right now, but you're going to see a different look for us. We are not on the defensive this year. We are on the offense. We have a great product. We've got the most passionate fan base in NHRA drag racing, and we're going to showcase that. We're going to flex that muscle this year, and you guys are going to get to see what it's like when 25 guys really care about the sport, and then they all want to beat each other's head in on Sunday. It's going to be a really good show. Competition, so Stevie, tell us your memories of Scotty Cannon. I know what that's about. All right, we'll take a little. We'll go to the first thing I remember about Scotty Cannon. I was 7 years old. I was at Carolina Dragway. I had just started going to race there. Wanted to race there my whole life. All I ever wanted to do was race. My dad used to take me. We used to park at the 8th mile, and I'm used to seeing all these old nitrous cars go by and everything, and all these horsepower cars. And Jackson House of Hook has always been a bracket track. So there's a lot of bracket cars. You see a lot of Pintos, a lot of Vegas back then. And then here comes this car that does a burnout and stops where we're at. And it's got a blower hatch sticking out of the hood. And I didn't know this at the time. I'm 7. I just know it's loud as shit. It made my eyes water. And when it come by me, it made my insides tingle. And I was like, this thing's cool. He comes by. There's this crazy guy with a mohawk and sunglasses on. I go down there, and he's got a big truck and trailer and got sponsor stickers all over the side of the car. I remember asking my dad, I was like, how do you get this type of car? He's like, well, you got to get sponsors. You got to get money. And right then I'm like, okay, Scotty killed these guys back then. I mean, like he just showed up and beat them like mules. And I was like, all right, so I want to be Scotty Cannon, the first thing I got to do is figure out how to go get some money. And that's what I started trying to do. And when you try to go get some money to blow it on race cars, you get told 99.99% of the time, no. So at 8 years old, I was getting turned down for sponsors. And I learned really quick, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and the more mud you sling against the wall, the better chance you got something going to stick. So that's the KTR marketing. There's the early memories of Scotty Cannon.
Boom.
That's awesome. I mean, simple, right?
Pretty simple.
Since we're taking the questions in right now, I heard that Kai Kelly went to a screw blower and No Prep Kings. If the money is right, would you tune Kai Kelly and beat the unbeatable Ryan Martin?
Ryan Martin's not unbeatable. I hate it when people say that shit. You just got to take a race car over there and go run him. I got a lot of respect for that guy because he takes a race car over there and he takes a race team and he tests a lot and spends a lot of money, but nobody's unbeatable, not anybody. So it's not about the money for me. It's about the passion. I like Kai. I actually worked on his nitrous car a long time ago when he first started out. I like them. I like Lizzie. They got a good deal going. I wouldn't do it for the money. I'd do it for the fun of just going to smash them. But I think from the insider standpoint, I don't think you'll need me to tune that thing this year. It'll be very exciting watching that team go out this year and mix it up. I think the whole no prep circuit is about to be flipped upside down. Upside down, completely upside down on the roof.
So, I mean, talking about that, I mean, we're back in, kind of our avenue where you and I first met, Stevie. Talking about the No Prep Kings and all that. I mean, we've seen you call them the ABC racers. We've seen you call them out and everything like that. But when you look back over your career, when I first met you, first time seeing you, first time going down to Valdosta and experiencing that whole nightmare of let's prep the track 9 million times and you on radios, I'm a Mustang guy, and watching everything that unfolded with you in the car and all the, glorified YouTube videos that we've seen about you. When you look at Stevie Fast Jackson then and the heads up, crazy, I'm going to gap you when Gap came out and everything came out. And now to this day, you're sitting here. What is that ride? Honestly, like a true depth inside look for you. What has that ride been like?
Man, it's a blur. And the reason it's a blur is because of the work it takes to do it. And that's what very few people understand. I mean, I've lived more waking hours than most people that are 70 years old. So like I always say, I'm an old soul because I've lived a lot of life. All of that costs time. Like I used to think that money was the hardest resource to get to go drag racing, but it's not. It's time. It's surreal. When I look at like No Prep Kings and those guys out there doing it and the ones that really love it and are in it for the right reasons, I love that and respect that. I love watching the fans get passionate about No Prep Kings and any type of motorsports that bring people in. But there was a different era when you couldn't go buy it. There was no check to write when I started racing to where you could write a check and run up front. You had to build it. You had to do it. And you had to come up with a way to take a junkyard motor and beat the other guy. And that grittiness of racing back then is and being poor, growing up poor, having to take what you had and try to run 2 classes above your head where you needed to be running is what made the ride so romantic for me. Like I love that part of my career. Like when you talk about the old days at Valdosta, like in the beginning, we had nothing. We would come on a 24-foot trailer and had no parts. And I had a bunch of buddies helping me out because we didn't have money to pay anybody. And those were the days. That's what made Stevie Fast. Like I've never been smarter than anybody. I just outwork everybody. I just refuse to stop working until we're at the front. And everybody that's great at our sport has the exact same mentality. When you see old crew chiefs look old, it's because it takes a lot of work to do this. And that's one reason why you don't see as many kids coming in to do this, and it's hard. All the kids want to be, Stevie Fast that want to race, but you don't want to put in the 100-hour weeks, hundreds and hundreds of 100-hour weeks. I got my neck cut open, and I worked 6 hours the day of my surgery. Like, I came home from the hospital, sat in this chair, wheeled it out into the shop, and was working on a blower manifold. Like, that's not normal. So, like, it takes a really special type of crazy to want to do this. But seeing where we started, I had always, as a kid, wanted to be where I'm at now. And I always was convinced that the fire would be out by this time. I figured that you've done it for 20 or 25 years. You did everything you said you were going to do, ride off into the sunset and enjoy your life. And I have never figured out a way to get drag racing to leave me alone. And believe me, I've tried. Like, I have done everything in my power to, like, get racing to leave me alone. And I just can't get it to do it. And as long as I love it and want to do it like this, and when I wake up, when I open my eyeballs in the morning, it's how do I make a better race car today? And as long as I get to do that, I want the ride to keep on going. Hopefully I'm old and gray and still driving these things.
Stevie, last year, we're at the International Hall of Fame Drag Racing Museum induction ceremony, the dinner, and a part of that ceremony, Scotty Cannon was inducted. And as he's up there giving a speech, giving the thanks, and just mentioning he thinks it's so wild that he's even able to be inducted into something with so many great names of drag racing, he does call you out. Not call out in the sense to go racing necessarily, but that you are doing a good job yourself. So we're not too far from having Mr. Cannon on in just a few moments. In that moment, to be called out with praise and laudation from a GOAT of Pro Mod to another already living legend in Pro Mod.
Man, like, I really choked up. I actually cried. And if you ever see me cry, you should cry too. Like, that means some terrible shit has happened. I got choked up when Scotty started talking about that. Just the fact that he asked me to come meant a whole lot. We come from the same neck of the woods. We grew up racing the same old beat up grungy tracks. I come along after he did, but if I would have come along in Scotty's era, we would have been the best of friends, or we would have been the most hated rivals that anybody's ever seen, because we both got want to. My mom always told me, boy, you can't teach want to, and Scotty Cannon has want to. And I modeled my Pro Mod career after him and John Forces of the world. The folks that were not scared to wear their heart on their sleeve, told you what they thought, and absolutely, when they showed up, they could do it. I mean, there's a big difference in, like me and Lyle were talking about earlier, about people that drive race cars and race car drivers. And Scotty Cannon's a race car driver. If you've ever watched that man race when he was in his prime, it was just a different level. Like, everybody else there was playing second. And this is when he was making the parts he was running. And passion is what drives drag racing. And I love seeing anybody go after it with all their heart. Even to be mentioned beside that guy, like, I do not belong to be in the same topic as Scotty Cannon. It's just not the same. When he came up and did it, you couldn't go write a check for a RJ car or a Jerry Bickle car. You couldn't go and buy a Brad Anderson Hemi and bolt in it. Now, if you can write a check, you can win. When he was racing and winning and dominating, he was innovating. They wrote the rule book around Scotty Cannon, because he would just take it and he would go take it that far, and they would change it and kick him in the head and kick him in the head. And he always found a way to win. Winners will always find a way to win, and losers will always make excuses why somebody took it from them. And that man's a winner. And it was an honor being up there. That was a really cool experience, and that was a night I'm never gonna forget.
That's awesome. And you speak of that. You speak of Scotty Cannon's mentality to win, and that's what drove your passion. I know you and Lyle Barnett are super close. You guys are bred, you've said it before, bred from the same cloth. Do you think Lyle is a spitting image of a mix of you and Scotty? Or who would you say, other than Lyle, because I know how close you guys are, in drag racing right now do you see that fight and that dog and that determination in?
Man, there's not a lot. You got Todd Tutterow that can absolutely do it. I mean, and Todd's a Scotty Cannon type of guy. He can freaking flat do it. He can build it. He can weld it up. He can assemble it. He can load it in a trailer, drive it to the truck, unload it, tune it, and kick your ass with it. And that's not a lot of folks that can do that. Lyle is a better technical driver than I am. Like, Lyle's a race car driver. You put that man in a pro stock car, he's going to win championships. You put him in a fuel car, he's going to win championships. You put him in any door car, he's going to win championships. I've watched that man drive. For me to say that I would put somebody in my car, I'm not a great race car driver, but I beat the brakes off of most everybody out there. And Lyle he's good as I've seen. And when he first, anytime somebody comes into NHRA Pro Mod and they're new, I always go give them the talk. I always tell them, quit as soon as you think you need to quit. Forget about who's watching. And if you got wheel in it past the 8th mile, you're going to end up on your lid. Quit. I always tell them all the same thing. And I watched Lyle. Lyle called me before he went and made his first test runs and asked what I thought. I told him. I watched him make 3 runs, and I said, he's got it. Like, that's ain't nothing I can teach him about pro mod racing. So, the guys like that can flat do it are few and far between. Ricky Smith, we got a huge rivalry. Ricky's that way too. Ricky's that guy. He can get it. Frank Manzo. There's people out there that can flat get it, but there's not a lot of them, and they got a lot of respect. Very few folks like me. I always say, if we show up naked in the desert, I can kill and eat you. And I mean that about most everybody. When it comes to the racetrack, if there was one guy that you had to get that had to do it all, if I had to assemble it all, build the motors, haul it to the track, unload it, tune it, and drive it, Scotty Cannon, Todd Tutterow, Ricky Smith, Frank Manzo, those are the guys that can beat me at it. The rest of the field out there are going to have some help.
Well, Stevie, we're winding down with time with you. Going to get Scotty Cannon on here in just a few moments. You talked about those tracks, some of the not the best tracks, but yet they make the best drivers because you got to learn how to get down them. And I'm sure you're familiar with good old Shady Side. They actually signed with IHRA. What do you think about that? The long-time independent outlaw track signing with the International Hot Rod Association.
Man, I think it's great. I raced at Shady Side before they fixed it. Like, it's nice now. I raced at all those tracks. I raced at Kinston when they had the light poles on the inside of the guardrail. I raced at Eatonton where you go through the creek. So like all those old tracks we used to race at in the South, and Scotty's got 100 more stories than I do because a lot of them had closed down before I come along. But racing at those tracks, I've been going down Darlington at 200 miles an hour and had a cow come out in the shutdown and had to dodge the cow. I've been across the railroad tracks at Dorchester. And a lot of these people never know what that's like. I ran at Old Dorchester before they fixed it. I ran 470s there and thought I was going to die. I was sliding around in circles. Shady Side, back in the old days, we took the orange car there. I ran beside Jeremy McElrath. I don't know if any of you guys remember Jeremy. He used to race all the time. Still a great guy. I used to call it the tri-oval because if you went down the track at Shady Side and timed it right and didn't get the chutes out early, you could coast around the tri-oval and come all the way back to the pits. Well, me and McElrath go down through there together. It's windy. His chutes blow over to my car, so I kind of go out toward the trees, get the chute hung in a pine tree. Well, he's beating me back to the pits. I don't want that to happen, so I cut him off. So we're coasting back to the pits. We get out, and I got a pine tree hooked in my chutes, and he run over it. So we all got some good stories about some of the outlaw tracks. I'd love to hear. I'd like to drink a beer and sit around and listen to Scotty and some of those guys talk about some of those tracks. But it's cool that they're IHRA deal. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but I do like racing there and look forward to racing there again.
That definitely sounds like a shake and bake episode. Some beers and some, Scotty Cannon and a few other guys. That'd be great.
Man, we're going to get Scotty on the Shake and Bake show. I ain't even asked him yet, but I'm just going to make it happen. We got to get him on the Shake and Bake show.
Well, I mean, I guess the last question for me is for you, Stevie, is you've done it, you've seen it. You've experienced the good, bad, the ugly, like I said before, in all of this. But do you think, looking at the new wave of drivers, the new wave of fans in motorsports, watching No Prep Kings and whatever other classes that they're watching, when you look back and say, I was calling out the No Prep King guys, I've started this trash talking kind of dynamics that's slowly integrating into more of the professional style of drag racing. How do we go about, I don't want to say trash talking, slamming, but how do we get some of that controversy back and forth gestures that we see in pro mod and maybe a little bit in pro stock? How do we get that in NHRA, but in a healthy way?
The only way to do it is you got to get the people, you got to get the competitors that have the balls to say what you think, and you got to get the companies to stand behind the people when they say stuff that's not politically correct. I've always tried to align myself with companies who will let me be me, and there's times you got to tiptoe more than others. Corporate America is a difficult double-edged sword. You got to have the money to race. It costs so much. But then when you get polished up because you're getting the money, it kills the sport. So you got to have both. Everybody's got to ease up a little bit, take stuff a little less personal, laugh at yourself some, and don't be scared to be emotional. We're all human. And you get these guys out there and these ladies that race these cars, and racing is not an Instagram world where everything you see is perfect and filtered. When you filter it and polish it up and make it look perfect, you're taking the best part of the sport away. People come to drag racing events to connect with the race car driver. They don't care about the car, how fast it is. We have to get to a place where we embrace human emotion and allow it to do what it's supposed to do. We all got into racing at some point because we have a level of ego, and that's a good thing. I'm not one that believes that we're all equal. I think we're born equal, and I think the decisions that we make after that determine where we go in life. I've never been afraid to just tell you that I beat you because your car's a piece of shit or because you can't drive it. And if you can't drive it and your car's a piece of shit, maybe you need somebody to tell you that. I've created a lot of enemies along the way. Most of the time, if you hate me, you've never really spent any time with me. And most of the time after you have, you realize I'm a pretty good guy that loves the sport. We have to get some rivalry in the sport. It needs to be organic. There's plenty of people that don't like each other out here. Most of them are just too scared to tell the other person because they don't want to create a rift. In professional motorsports, we race against the same people all the time. It's a little harder to have those rivalries. Professional racing isn't like No Prep Kings where it's a TV show, or we don't capture just the drama. We have competition on the line. We're really racing. If I don't win, I don't eat. I mean, and if we go out there and we don't win, I don't get to sell $50,000 worth of T-shirts at an HRA race. The fan base isn't that big. We got to get to where we can all laugh at ourselves. And at the end of the day, I really think everybody, especially in HRA Pro Mod, has the best interest of the class at heart. If somebody says something you don't like, that don't mean they want to kill you. That just means that they want to race you. And we got to go back to being able to talk about some of the rivalries that we have in the sport. When you go look back, you look at Annette Summer and Tony Christian and some of those great door car rivalries coming up. Like, think about what would happen if some of those rivalries happened today. You'd have to censor it. Fox wouldn't even show it. But one thing I can tell you from talking with some of the broadcasting in NHRA, you're going to see a little more personality this year. You're going to see a little more flair. They want to see that rough around the corners stuff, and we want to give it to them. I think everybody's helmet ought to be mic'd up. I think the fans ought to hear it when you want to throw your helmet across the parking lot. And if you get beat in what we do and it doesn't make you want to throw your helmet across the parking lot, you're in the wrong sport. I'm not saying I advocate for being a sore loser, but it should hurt you when you lose. Like, I don't lose a lot because I don't like it. I've done it, and it's not near as much fun as winning. So 2023 is going to be a really good year for door car racing.
Well, folks, look, We're going to do something right now that not many shows have the opportunity to do, and we're going to do it so as we bring in Scotty Cannon and have Stevie Fast Jackson on the same screen, you hit the like button. Two goats on the same screen here on Competition Plus Power Hour. Scotty, welcome to the show.
Nice to be here, guys. How's it going?
Scotty, you looking good, baby.
I'm getting old, dude. Don't
Man, you ain't getting old. We're just getting started. You're looking good.
know I'm old.
I'm old. We're all old together. My back's hurting right now.
Hey, we must have something in common. Bad backs for sure. My dogs even have back trouble.
It's contagious because they spent too much time with you.
It's pitiful, man.
Well, Stevie, look, before we do let you go, you take the first question here on the show.
All right. So I get to ask Scotty any question I want to ask him.
Here we go.
Woo! I don't know who y'all got sponsoring this deal. All right, Scotty. 1 round win, somebody that deserved it, and you got to give it to him. What's your number 1 round win where you just, and they deserved it, and you ain't scared to tell them about it?
The one round that I won the most that I really loved smacking down on somebody?
Absolutely.
Probably when me and Shannon was tooth and tooth. We were 8 points apart going into the finals in Darlington, IHRA. And we had escorts from the police every run. We were protesting before we got there. They tore the car apart and then tore it apart when we were done. And Shannon wasn't qualified going into the last round on Saturday night. The dude failed. And that joker went straight to number 2 qualifier. He wasn't even qualified. So if he'd have just shook the tires one more time, he ain't even been down the racetrack, then I'd have been champion. But nope, that joker went down the racetrack, and we wound up running in the final. But Jesus, you're talking about a rough day. But that one there was that was one of my greatest ones because it was a rough year.
That's awesome. It's always the ones that are hardest to get that mean the most. That's why we fall down. We can get up. That's great.
Well, look, Stevie, thank you for stopping on the show and chatting with us. And we're going to take a break and continue on with Mr. Cannon here. And again, before you go, plug Shake and Bake and let everybody know where and when they can watch it.
So Shake and Bake show live on today's episode was live, but it's going to be on my YouTube channel every other Tuesday. We will have some special episodes that come in if we have a race or something we need to debrief. Me and Lyle, I am already dropped the hint that I want to get Scotty Cannon on the show absolutely as soon as possible. And we appreciate you guys. This is a really unplugged show. It's not scripted. We cuss. We haven't sold any sponsorship to it because I'll get fired. And I appreciate everybody that came on and watched tonight. It was really long-winded. We'll clean up some of that. And we're going to have some fun stuff, some fun guests. But really, it's just a bunch of guys sitting around bullshitting about cars. And if you like listening to that kind of stuff, you're going to love this show.
Lee, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
I mean, you got Scotty Cannon on. You got to use his commercial.
I agree. Scotty, last time we got to talk to you was live at PRI. Audio maybe wasn't the best, but for you, I mean, I asked this question, but I got to ask it again. It's clear audio. Everyone can hear you. But for you, I mean, you're known as the Cannonball. You're known as the guy with the mohawk, the guy with the, crazy glasses that you still to this day see on ESPN and NFL Network because guys that don't even know who the legend Scotty Cannon is are wearing them. When you are walking around at a motorsports event and people recognize you, what are some of the things that people say, or you're surprised that people are like, hey, Scotty, do you remember this moment?
That's good. Yes. When I came out in, I think, 16, me and the husband all called to run some of the double races at the 325 stuff. I had real long hair and naturally no mohawk and stuff. And you'd be surprised that I really just kind of walked around the pits, worked, and naturally the racers themselves, they knew who I was and stuff. And it's like I'm like, darn, everybody's kind of forgot who I was. So I actually had a little fire and burnt my hair off in my arm. And I came back, I had kind of sort of a mohawk down the middle, and everybody recognized me. So I figured out then it wasn't so much about Scotty Cannon, it was about his style that people noticed. And, what can I say? I never dreamed back in the day when I was escorting that thing and being rebellious to have it, and most people didn't have it, that it would have been so popular today. I mean, you just can't plan that.
Well, Scotty, we know we talked about this a little bit at PRI, but bring everyone up to speed watching now. What has kept you out for so long and being an integral part of the sport? I mean, it looks like it's almost as like you've been living out a George Strait song. It's been rumored that he died.
Well, that's a good one. I'd like to clear some of the things up. Well, when I retired, I actually came back and run Pro Mod for a year, but I got hurt in 97. The year before I went to Australia, which was the year before that I had Oakley. And I was on a 14 or 15 hour flight within 2 weeks after surgery. And, I don't want to say call Stevie, but he can tell you what this is really like. And I was actually flying over there and I raced. The whole time I was in Australia, my doctor didn't even know I was there. I was afraid to tell anybody. And, looking back on it, I should have had more faith in my sponsors and just told them. And it was toward the end of the year anyway. And, I probably could have took a year off and got better, but that was one of the decisions I didn't do. So when I came back, Jim Gennard, he gave me enough money and was always more generous with the money. Thank God for him. I came back and I hurt so bad. So I put my boy in the car. We won we won one championship and finished good a year. And then 2008 hit the crash hit. And when you drink and party and stuff and hang out with all the NHRA people and IHRA and all my old fans, I mean, I was actually involved at the racetrack with everybody. I was one of the guys. And I guess I missed all that. I don't know if I felt sorry for myself or whatever, but, I went through the state. I thought I was depressed. I went through different stuff, feeling sorry for myself. That's what I really regret looking back on all the things I've done in my life is probably the last 20 years. And I know it's a long time, but, one reason I'm back is I had some blood work and all that they found that was common. Could be bad. It wasn't like real bad disease or nothing. They got it straightened out about 6 months ago. And I'll be honest with you, I've never felt better. I don't know how they've treated me for depression. They've treated me for everything. I lost my dad in amongst all this stuff, which is no excuse. I know that's nature and it's human, but I guess I just felt sorry for myself. I'm not sure. I'm not going to pull no punches against myself because, I've been known to swing a punch at another guy. So if I need smacked in the mouth, I'll be the first one to hit myself. So, I feel better now. I wish I'd have done a few things different, but I'm ready to go racing somehow, some way. My brother, we're putting a car together for him now. We bought Tommy Gray's old car. We're going to run PDRA with it and look for me something. And I got a good friend named Mike Sport. I'm helping him with a top sportsman car. But the bottom line is, when I got to where I was feeling better, just over the last 6 or 8 months, I know I have to be back out there. And I haven't felt like that, guys, in 10 years. I promise you. It's no excuse. And I've even went back to my doctors and told them, is this going to go away? And they said, no, this is just, you had some blood work monkeyed up. I said, it's this easy. They said, well, it's good we found it because, it probably wouldn't have killed you, but you'd have never felt good. I used to couldn't go on an hour trip without falling asleep. I couldn't go in a restaurant and almost not fall asleep. So God's honest truth. My wife says I have not fell asleep riding down the road. And she drives when we drive around here because she drives better than I do. But she just brought that up just a couple of days ago. She said, you're not sleeping. That's why I get up 7 o'clock in the morning, back in the bed at 12. I'm over here working on my brother's stuff, what I can do on it physically. And I'm loving it. I never thought a year ago or 2 or 5 or 10 years ago, I'd be back out in the shop doing this stuff and ready to go race. I want to run and win some championships, if it's with me or my brother, whatever. We just like to get some money behind us a little bit or a lot or whatever. I just want to come back racing.
Sam, that's heck of a revelation to see the determination of Scotty Cannon once again. It's also a revelation that apparently can only drive 1/8 mile and a 1/4 mile at a time, and the wife does better on the road in and out.
Well, unless it's raining, she can't see good in the rain, so we don't leave the house.
So we've seen the pictures of you sitting in the car and, recently everything that's been kind of said. There was some talk about it during PRI of different opportunities. So for those that don't know, for those that aren't caught up, what's going to be the latest for Mr. Cannon? What's in the works? What can you release? What can you tell us? And what's looking good for 2023?
Well, it's really, if nothing prospers outside of what we're doing now, I'm happy. I'm so much more happier than I was, just to say, a year ago. And that takes it back 10 years ago or 15. But, I sit in the house a lot of times, watch a lot of days go by. And I never thought it'd just be blood work. Had me feeling so bad. But I guess if I feel good, I'm going to race. And like I say, if we don't have anything else, and I just get to race with my brother, he's been busy all his life building a good electrical business, and he never could enjoy none of the good times with me. He was busy. He had 5 kids, and his business has done good. He's prospered. I'm so proud of him. And I don't want to put this in the wrong way and turn nobody down, but if I crew chief his car and we had some funding, which he has, he does okay. It would take a lot less to fund his car, and I would be just as happy as if I was driving. But I think I want to get back in the seat and at least hit the throttle, do something. So, I'm open for anything. But, that's what's on the burner now, and that's what's happening. And like I say, Mike Swore bought my old car that my boy drove for me in 2007, and he's going to run it in PDRA. So I got I got stuff to do, but there's always a slot open, mine. So we'll see what the good Lord brings to us, or somebody wants to go racing, we'll give it a whiz. But I heard something that Stevie said here a while back, and I never have been able to really kind of categorize it up. And naturally, Stevie says a lot. His mouth is like mine. He don't know when to shut it sometimes, but that's just the way we are. And usually we can back it up, like he says. But I lost my train of thought.
Stevie Fast was talking, John.
Yeah, he was putting it in perspectives about the guy that he's sponsoring. I mean, just teamed up with him now, and I don't want to put this in a bad way, but and trust me, the guys that I'll just use Flowline because that's who was housing his car. I just know this because I just know I'm in a small town, but that's sort of the kind of way, like he was saying, you could buy it. You can buy the parts and the stuff, but, I think, and I can't speak for Stevie, but I think from what he was saying, what I kind of caught a glimpse of, he's actually going to introduce this guy into a racing team. And it's no disgrace against nobody. Eric or none of those guys at Proline, they are the best. They great. They good guys. Probably some of my biggest fans. I got a picture of me running my car with a blower at PDR, lights out. And everybody in the background was Proline turbo cars back then. They didn't even like a blower car. And then that's how good we hit it off. So, everything speaks for itself. And I get asked the question too, well, what would you run I'll run whatever. I don't care if it's a blower. I've won with nitrous. I never did win too much in basketball, but you get the drift. It's all good.
Scotty, Drag Racing Central asks your opinion on 1/8 mile versus 1/4 mile drag racing with the pro mods, the door slammers. It seems like NHRA is the last bastion of 1/4 mile door slammer drag racing for the pro mods, and there are plenty of great outlaw 1/8 mile associations out there like Midwest Drag Racing Series, PDRA, and beyond. What are your thoughts on it? Because You obviously were at 8th Mile drag strips that were not premier drag strips way back in the day, establishing Pro Mod, and you've done quarter mile as well. Where do you stand?
For where I like quarter mile or 8th mile, you saying? Is that what you guys?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Naturally, I like to hang it out because I like the quarter mile. I done the best and won most of my races, 8 mile racing. We done a lot of quick 8 racing when I was match racing. Either one suits me. I mean, to be honest with you, once you put it in high, you're along for the ride, sort of. It ain't sort of like a funny car where you got to stay busy in it unless something goes wrong. But that, that's a catcher. Everything's so quiet in one of these cars. It's not real quiet. It's just smooth once you get in high gear. If something goes wrong, usually you can't fix it. You usually wrecked. Like Stevie was saying, after 600 foot, if something happens, you usually going to wind up on your lid and the guardrail. And, I'm seeing a lot of that happen. But, in I think it was 96, I took a GTO and made it a Pro Mod. It was basically a Pro Stock car, and we cheated that thing. When I say cheated from the character of car it wasn't against the rules. And we actually flew that car at 300 foot in Oklahoma. We hit a bump. There was a dip. It was notorious for wrecking people, but we've been down that track a couple of times and been fast. It was low qualifier. And I called, take the leash off of it at nighttime. My son said he wanted to let it go. And he hit that bump, and the car actually just kind of got up in the air, flipped over on its top, never hit the guardrail to start with. So, these cars are really, really getting to where if they get in trouble past 300 or 400 foot, you just got to throw the towel in. Back in my day, I can see me driving them there, and I know I had to drive them because the cars weren't going that fast. I've had a few critics tell, kind of chime off on since I'm coming back or whatever, can you still do it? Can you still drive it? Hell, I don't know. I'm going to damn try. I didn't know I could when I done it the first time, but I done okay. So I'm going to try it again. I'm just full of piss and vinegar right now. My wife says I act like I'm 18 years old again. Don't take that the wrong way, guys. She didn't say that. I'm just lying. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh, that's all good. So I got to ask, we're looking right now and Lee mentioned it earlier. So we see the Corvette behind you, but the Supra green and gray and black boat there. Is that where we can find Scotty Cannon on the weekend if he's not?
Yeah, if my brother goes and I go with him. That boat costs more than this race car. I don't have no boat like that. I'm a poor boy. Hey, I got a good one for you. How about this? Let's just use let's use old monkey you had on there a while ago. That little kid you had, my little hero. Let me tell you, that joker he's going to tell you how good he is, and he's going to back it up. Well, I kind of do the same thing, but in the long scheme of it, we really don't know where we're going ourselves, because here you are speaking to a guy right now that you say was probably one of the best at doing what he done. We still looking for money. He's looking for money. Where the hell's all the damn money for two of the best drivers that's ever been in pro modified in a racing team? Now, maybe he's got his, but I'm still looking for mine, so I can go try to outrun that knucklehead. Maybe a year from now, me and him will be arguing and fussing, but I bet we'll be friends.
Somebody put up the money, and we need the Scotty Cannon and Stevie Jackson matchup.
Yeah, that's perfect.
If Scotty's still 16, they can put.
You muted yourself on that one, Sam.
I did. So, all right, cheers. Everybody at home, everybody that's watching. That was a double mute moment. Lee,
yeah, it's a double
myself.
mute. That's a double mute.
Yeah. See, Scotty's got. See, you see that, Lee? He comes on the show drinking a Monster.
I still got game, baby. I need some just touching up around the edges here.
I got in trouble because I was like, "Hey, I need a Monster before the show," and people are like, "What? You drink Monster?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm gonna drink that. I'm gonna drink my little bit of water here." And then it's night. This is before bedtime snack.
That's right. Everybody says, I got too much caffeine, you can't sleep. I said, I don't sleep anyway. I'll tell you what, guys, I hadn't done this in a long time either. I'm kind of excited about it. I call it working in your sleep. Like the last couple of nights, I'll be laying in the bed, go to sleep, wake back up, and I'm working on this blame car. And it's nothing, just like maybe plumbing a fuel system. I've done it a million times. But I can't get it out of my head until I get it plumbed up. And I got the stuff here to plumb it. It's just ain't really time right now to plumb it up because I got some other stuff I need to look at. But if I don't plumb this damn thing up, I'm never going to sleep. So I got to plumb it tonight, do another little thing with Bobby here, and then I go home and sleep. So I'm not really wired exactly like everybody else, I don't think.
Well, it sounds like Scotty Cannon is like life has been revived. Like you feel like it's like a second chance after all the blood work and everything. Is that what it feels like for Scotty Cannon at this point?
Yeah, and trust me, take this serious. When I went back to my doctor for the checkup after all these tests, and I was headed in the right direction, and it was a newer doctor, I wasn't really familiar with him. My older doctor retired. That was kind of part of the problem. He missed some blood work stuff over the years. He was older. He's passed away, gone. So I got this new doctor. He kind of figured it out. And I went back to him. I said, "Is this going to change?" He said, "No, sir, not going to change." He said, "Wherever you are now is the way you're supposed to be." He said, "You have not been right." So some of the medicines they gave me back in '99 was what was causing part of my problems, and it was for short term, nothing big, but it messed up some of my blood work, and it's just been sitting there polluted. So it's one of them simple things. So guys, whatever you do, get my age, you need a physical. No, you need one back when you're about at least in the 40s. We could have caught this. We could have, who knows? I may have never went anywhere.
Scotty, so for you, you mentioned that, and me being a car guy myself and owning a car when I was working on mine, do you ever get to that point where you're like working on something and that night you're like, okay, I either need this part or that part, but you don't know which one to use or what to order, and then in the middle of the night, you feeling like you're finally in good sleep, and then boom, it hits you after maybe a rough day in the shop, or all day you've been thinking about it, and it's like, what do I need? And you're laying there at, let's just say 3:45 in the morning, and you wake up and you're like, that's it. And do you still get that feeling like you need to go and do that now? Or are you like, okay, that's it, and now I can finally go back to sleep and do it, the next day?
Well, when you get my age, what you do is you get up and do it right then, because you're probably going to forget it. So you have to get up and do it right then, or believe it or not. I got up the other night. It's probably 5 o'clock in the morning, and I wrote some stuff down. Afraid I'd forget it the next day. And this thing is we haven't even got the motor put together for it yet. So I'm probably in for a few more nights of that. I don't know. If you'd have told me a year ago that I want you to go do this or just put this stuff together for your brother, I would have did it for him, because I've been helping him on a 275 car. But I'll be honest with you, I just couldn't ever get in the mood. And when you're sleepy and all the time, I thought I was tired, but I wasn't tired. Come to find out, I was just sleepy. So when you're sleepy all the time, you just don't feel good, man. I'm telling you, they treated me. I've took enough antidepressants to kill a horse. I don't take nothing now. So I don't know. It's just easy to get off the wrong path. It's about like racing. I wasn't paying attention, didn't know what I was doing. Look at me. I'm trying to come back, though. I ain't gonna quit. I'm gonna keep fighting, boys.
Well, before Stevie got off, we had a brief chat on some of the sketchy tracks that he has raced on, and I know you have raced on plenty here in the Carolinas, Georgia, and beyond. And I'm not going to ask you to narrow it down to one, but give me your top 3 most sketchiest tracks that a pro mod that Scotty Cannon was driving should not have been on.
Well, the one I hated the worst, and Bobby just mentioned, he knows it because I probably griped about it. I've run in tracks that's got grass growing in the middle. We were in Australia, and we actually cut some grass in the middle of one track over there, little weeds. And I've been to Winston County. I've been been so many. But I'm going to have to say Summer Duck. It's in Virginia. And when you go through the finish line, it's downhill around to the left. I ain't talking a little left. I'm talking about like a hill out of your driveway in a four-wheel drive truck that it looks like. And so first time I run there, I run Ronnie's socks. And Ronnie says, boy, you wreck your car here, everybody wrecks them. I'm like, I ain't running by half track. So I left start line, never forget it. Left start line, I ain't seen Ronnie. Shit. I just stowed the chutes and then put it in second gear. I don't know where in the world I've done that. So the next run, I won that one. Then the next run, I'd run a little bit further, but I'd throw my chutes and drive in my chutes and have my chutes set. So when you're having to race a track like that and you leave the starting line, and if the chutes don't open, you're going to wreck. That ain't no fun. I don't care how good you are or what you think you are. That's not good.
Scotty, going back, looking at, like Lee said, you looked at these crazy tracks and sketchy tracks. But for you, clocking down the memories of, everything that you've been a part of and times, when you look back at when you started and becoming this new wave of racer and this new style, did you ever think it was destined for you to be this, this icon in drag racing? Was that your goal? Was to have this momentum behind you and have this, this era of like, this is the Scotty Cannon era? Did you ever think it was going to be that? And
No.
when did you realize that Scotty Cannon was and is that guy?
Well, I was so focused on trying to win and do better. Like Stevie said, it feels so bad when you lose that you just can't think about not winning. But I would say afterwards, and over the last probably 3 or 4 or 5 months, I've really, really kind of looked back on it and had a lot of people that a lot of fans. I mean, I'd never have been on Facebook to mount to anything or anything like that. And I have lately. And I just didn't, and I know it's selfish, and I apologize to everybody that pulls for me, but I just did. I honestly kind of figured everybody had just kind of like dropped by the wayside because, until you're out there in the media like we are now and, on the internet and stuff, that's new to me. And I know all the young people's like, what? But I got computers. I know how to work this on this car pretty good. You have to do that. I learned how to do that when it was coming up. I had the first printers that you put beside your car that you hooked up to your computer, and it printed out a little paper about 4 inches wide, and we'd hang them on the wall and stick them with clear tape every run to overlay them and underlay them so we could compare and take measuring sticks, measure. We even had the whole length of the run mapped out like a big screen, like a counter. I actually have a sheet with me now that I could get out that I actually use when I crew chief my own funny car with Jimbo and Phil. Well, I had the last say, but we were all three in it together, and I actually crew chief that thing sitting in the seat. So, I had so many people, man, around me that done so good. I actually felt like I let them down, and I have a lot of people saying, well, why don't you call Oakley? Why don't you do this? Well, what most people don't know is Oakley wasn't who sponsored me. It was Jim Gennard. He was the founder of Oakley. Now, he was with Oakley and owned Oakley at the time, and this was always his passion. And one of my biggest regrets is not being able to do better for him when I run my funny car than I did. I could sit here and say I was hurt. Yeah, I was hurt. Did I have any operations in between? Yeah. Did I stay ruptured? Yeah. My crew can tell you, I used to take bungee cords, not bungee cords, but car ratchet straps and put soft ties around my legs and soft around my arm and stretch me and ratchet me apart between rounds so I could stand the pain. Because everybody knows NHRA's got a zero drug tolerance. So if I had medicine prescribed to me, if it was more than Advil, it didn't do me no good. So I never took it. It wasn't no use taking it. Because I couldn't drug test if I had them. So, I went through some hard times, but I owe him an apology for not doing as good as I've done. But, on Sat, we've done real great for those guys. We done good. But, who knows? Maybe I can get back there and get to running. I'll invite old Jim to one of the races and I'll give him some hospitality.
Well, that certainly would be a cool deal there, Scotty, for that. And speaking of the funny car era, Drag Racing Central is asking about that, your time in the funny car. What was in you that you had the desire to go funny car racing? And was it you felt like you'd done all that was necessary in Pro Mod, or was there nothing left, or was the timing just right, or was it always this, let's see if I can get to a nitro funny car in the NHRA?
I'll tell you roughly the way the Oath deal kind of wound up is come to find out I was in Atlanta. I lived close to Atlanta. So it was a rain out I was match racing, but the NHRA race got rained out in Atlanta Drag. So they're going to run it on Monday. So I drive down. It's only an hour and a half from my house. And I actually got up there with Bob Fry and a couple guys, Torch, the guy used to do the welding and stuff. He was up there. And I didn't know it, but Jim Gennaro was kind of scouting and looking for somebody like me to run a funny car. But he didn't want to drive it or couldn't drive it. He could drive it, but I think just because of the status of where he was in his place in life at the time, he didn't want to drive. That's what he told me. So that's how Scotty come about. And I do remember Bob Fry saying, when are you going to ask the question you kind of just asked? But he said, when Scotty Cannon will come out here and race against John Force? And I said, and it was my dream. It wasn't to run John Force, but to run a funny car. And naturally, he's my hero. He's got to be everybody's hero. I mean, he is mine. I know everybody for him. So, I never thought at that time what I was setting the stage for. So later on that year, Jim was at a couple of races, and he was at the last race and come up and talked to me and had no idea what he was, who he was, nothing. But he was out there kind of scouting, seeing what I'd done. I remember he told me, he was a spectator, he said, how fast will your car go? Why aren't you number one qualifier? And I said, well, my good motor's in the trailer. I've won the championship. We'll put my good motor in Sunday. It's got lightweight parts, and I have to rebuild it more often. I said, the rods aren't good for 5 or 6 runs. It's got pro stock rods in it, da-da-da-da. He said, well, I think you ought to put it in now. And I ain't going to put it in for no spectator telling me he didn't buy the motor. He'd come back the next day. It was on Saturday. He said, I believe I'd put that motor in. I told Boyce, as my car chief, I said, Boyce, put that other motor in. I don't know if it'll make it all the way tomorrow. I said, well, it's got to. I said, this guy, he said, he don't think we can go number one qualifier. Well, we went right to number one qualifier. I was showing out for him and didn't even know it. I guess the good Lord was looking out for me. We made it to the final, and a little O-ring came out of my AirPod when I put it in second gear against Shannon Jenkins and lost. Thank God Jim understood that. He said, why'd you lose? I said, I broke. He said, why? I told him why. I said, I don't know why, but just a little $2 part. He said, yeah. And I remember him saying, well, you said something, and I talked to him off and on all weekend, and I said, I need a bigger sponsor. And he said, well, you might just get that. And he called me on a Monday when I got home. And Wednesday evening, he flew me to California, and Thursday, I had a sponsorship out of the funny car. So he had his mind made up.
That's all it takes there. So I want to ask you the same question, Scotty, that I asked Stevie Fast Jackson, because he's someone that has, embraced your mentality of racing and that go get 'em dog mentality that you had, before we even really knew what that go get 'em mentality was. But when you're walking, around PRI and you're walking in the pits or maybe watching drag racing, who do you see in our sport? Or is there someone maybe that's not really embedded into the sport of NHRA or the No Prep King world, or, the IHRA world, or the Southwest, the Southeast Gassers, the Gasser Association, the Funny Car Chaos? Who's out there that you're like, you know what? That kid has got a lot of meat or has that next level mentality. Who do you see that's out there that has that in them right now?
Yeah, I got a call a few years back, and this is one of my buddies, and he said, you seen this Yeah, a guy named Stevie. I said, well, I know who you're talking about. Man, he's talking more shit. I said, well, they probably done stirred him up or something. I know how it gets. And he goes on. He's, nah. So my buddy had his computer on, and I guess Stevie was arguing with one of those nitrous guys, and they calling each other faggots and stuff like that. Whew, I know we all need to do that, but I was never the guy that can do that much because if they get within arm length, something happens and I lose it. So I had to just kind of be the nice guy till everything breaks out before I can do a lot of kidding on that, on that status. But I don't know. I would say probably the kid himself. I mean, because hell, everybody said he's just a carbon copy of me. I just didn't win, I don't think, as much as he does. It looks like he wins all the time.
There you go.
That's who you was thinking of, wasn't it?
Lee, we can't hear you.
I said, that's who you was thinking of, wasn't it? Steve.
Well, we got to get Scotty and Stevie on the track at the same time. It's got to happen. It's got to happen.
We can do that. I bet we can sell some damn T-shirts. I'll bet you that.
Yes.
Like somebody they said, won't you run the Outlaw Street stuff or no prep? I said, well, they won't let you in that thing unless you part of the show. Well, it's not a show. I said, I ain't going to get into all that. I don't know what's what. Well, all I know is Stevie ain't there. I ain't there. Tutterow ain't there. Tommy Mooney ain't there. All them old goats I know just ain't there. But I do know those guys I just now mentioned are badass guys. They badass. They kick your ass to your nosebleed and then laugh at you if you don't like it. And then loan you the motor and the transmission out of their car. And I'd like to think I'm that guy. So there you go.
Boom.
Right. Well, Scotty, look, you got to get back to work on that car. I know you want to do that and eventually get some sleep. Bobby Bennett can wrap up with you. I got one last question from myself. You have been known over your career that the cars have had wild schemes, from flames to heads, tomatoes, tongue sticking out, mad scientist, whatever. If the sponsorship issue was no matter, sponsor said you could have whatever it is on the car, what would Scotty Cannon, coming back to the track, like to have on his race car?
I don't want to feel bad about this, but as long as they're paying the bills, I'm going to work hard as I can to promote their product. I think we proved that with Oakley. Here's the way I look at it. I'm nothing to those guys. I know I'm more to them than what I'm fixing to say, but I'm just a tool in the toolbox that they use to sell their product or do whatever they're doing, or somebody wants to race and we want to put a racing team together for them, or whatever it may be. And that's the way I look at it. So you got to give that guy what it's like going to McDonald's. You got to give him what he ordered. Don't give him something he didn't order. Give him what he wants to the best that you can do. And that's about all you can do. So, I think I've done okay at that. I got a lot of people on Facebook that pat me on the back and said I never seen myself as an icon for Oakley or OnSat. I was just a guy that worked for him. But looking back on it, the good Lord, he blessed me well. And it's been a real great journey. And like you said earlier, it looks like I've been give a second chance of win, because without me feeling good and wanting to go do this, it wouldn't be no good if somebody, God knows I've never, you have to do it for the money in one sense of speaking, because we all have to live. I got to get to the racetrack. I got to pay my mortgage. I have to pay my loans and stuff. If it weren't for that, you could keep the damn money. But I'm stupid enough to do this for nothing, because that's what I do. But unfortunately, I can't. If somebody come up and said, we're not going to pay you a dime except for this, right, whatever, and we're going to fund a team. Well, good, have at it, because that's basically all you do. It's a business. And that's the way I run it, and I'm pretty sure Stevie does it that way. I just know a little bit about Stevie's operation from the outside looking in, because I know him and Phil Schuler's good friends, and Steve, he was with me when I run my Pro Mod stuff and my fuel car. Phil was, and I can call him any day or the night, and that joker treats me just like he was still working for me a long time ago. I don't ask him questions that I shouldn't ask him about tune-ups or how to make this car go. But if I call that joker and say what kind of spark plug I need, he'll probably say a straight one. So it's good to have people that I can fall back on. Back in my day when I started, I couldn't call nobody for nothing, but I actually can get some help now. So we're looking forward to it.
All right, Scotty, very quickly, some fan questions, rapid fire. Have you ever been to Yellow Belly Dragway in Texas? Ever mark that one off the list?
Not that one. I didn't go much past probably Alabama when I was going out toward the West Coast. It cost too much in gas even back then when it was $1 a gallon. We had no money to go out there.
Right. And I'm sure you got a big list, but if you can narrow it down to the favorite person that you would regularly match race, who would that be?
Hugh. Yeah, Hugh Scott.
Hugh Scott. All right.
Hugh Scott, when I first came back, Ronnie Socks came back in my first year of my era starting in 91. That's when Ronnie came back. And if you look back on it, that's who I match raced 90% of the time. I didn't plan it. He didn't plan it. There wasn't a phone call. There was no internet for me to go get on, or no Facebook or any of that stuff. This track started calling, hey, we got Scotty Cannon and Ronnie Socks. And we packed them out day in, day out. Maybe we'll do that again. We ain't got Ronnie, so maybe we got me. I'll be the Ronnie, and maybe Stevie can be the Scotty. How about that?
That might be the plan, Sam.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can get some people to come see us at Orangeburg, Darlington, and my home track Greer.
Yeah.
I got a few haters here, but they'll come just to watch me get out run.
Right. Yes. Right.
We're going to get them to come one way or another.
That's right. That would be a good show. And look, sponsors, you're out there and you're wondering the impact that someone can have on your brand. Look, I wear Oakleys because of that man on the bottom of the screen. Because I thought that dude was cool, because he is cool, and I was a Scotty Cannon fan, still am a Scotty Cannon fan. And I'm like, if I'm gonna wear cool shades, they got to be what he wore. So it works, even 20, 30 years away from the time. So there you go.
Thanks, guys. I sure appreciate it. You guys are number one. You guys got it going on.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Well, Scotty, look, we're gonna let you get back to that car.
We'll get at it. We'll see you at the racetrack. Thanks, guys. Like I say, thanks to all my fans and everybody's stuck in there with me. We'll give them hell. How about that?
Do that.
Thank you.
Competition Products, your source for hardcore engine parts for street, strip, and oval track. Our free catalog is packed with hundreds of product lines from the best-known manufacturers in the performance industry. Lowest prices guaranteed. Free shipping and handling on all orders over $149 in the continental U.S.
Need expert advice? Our knowledgeable staff is just a phone call away.
Competition Products, race parts sold by racers since 1970.
All right. Well, Sam, look, I do want to take the time to answer for the Booze Traveler. That's pretty good YouTube handle. I like that. The answer to the question on what is Scotty's plans, he is the car in the background. That's his brother's car. He's going to be working on his brother's car. They're going to do some PDRA racing, but Scotty is open to just about anything. Like we had a conversation with him at PRI. You can't really hear it. There were some audio tech issues, but you put that conversation together with this conversation, Scotty's open for anything because he's feeling good, feeling right, and ready to race.
Pretty much. I mean, the short, sweet of it all is, he's ready to go. He's excited about it. And that's what it takes, Lee. Sometimes you got to step away from it for a little bit to, regain that passion, regain that love. And even if it's meant, not the way you want, not the way you wanted it to be, is that, we all find what our true passion is. And whenever you have to take a break away from something, it gets the gears moving and everything. And for Scotty, I think it's his time to do whatever he wants. And he's still, like you said, helping his brother out with the car and doing what he needs to do. So I just, like you said, it's a matter of time. And if the right ride comes along or somebody has that, then, we shall see. So
I want to see Scotty Cannon at Funny Car Chaos right now. I want to see that. Needs to happen. Somebody get him in a funny car again.
I think if we call Scott Palmer, that might, I'm just saying that might be, one way to be able to do that.
Hey, you never know. I think Scott be up for it. I think Scott would be up for it. Scott and Scott would be up for it.
Yeah, the S squared.
And I think also, I know we've been talking about racing tonight. We've been talking about drag racing. We've been talking about sketchy tracks and good times and Scotty Cannon as a pro mod great, possibly the greatest of all time. It'd be hard to argue anyone else. But I think something that we need to take away from his story that is a life matter is if you're not feeling right, go get a second opinion. Get checked out. I mean, he said a lot of it came down to blood work and that the medications weren't right in his system and messing with him. And I think, Sam, you even had some recent issues with that and people found the right stuff and what was going on and you're feeling better now. I mean, just go get checked out.
Dude, Lee, if I can tell you about that, you touched on it. There was a couple of weeks that I wasn't on the show, wasn't feeling good, falling asleep at the wheel. Just like he mentioned, different things were going on. But for me, it was 3 doctors. So what was it? It was, I don't know, 8 things of blood work, 3 different doctors. Now I'm on the 4th doctor now, and I finally got an answer. And this is my second go around with this whole stuff. So, let's just say, so now this would be, I'm on my 4th. So this was actually 6 doctors, and I don't know how many other things of blood work. And this has been going on since 2019. So, like you said, if it doesn't feel right, get checked out. We all look at life and say, oh, maybe it's because I'm tired. Maybe it's my diet. And that's the first thing they're going to tell you. Like they told me, don't eat brisket, don't eat ribs, stop eating steaks. And I'm like, I'm a man. I like steak and potatoes. Like I go to Brazilian steakhouses with this guy. But life throws curveballs at us, but we all have to just take it, day by day, step by step. And like you said, go get a second opinion, a third opinion, a 4th, 5th, and 6th. But you've got to know yourself. You got to know what feels right. And Stevie touched on that too. He says, yeah, he wants to get back behind a wheel, but until he feels comfortable doing it, till he feels like he's healed and he's not in pain anymore, that's where you need to be. You need to feel like you're 100% with yourself. You have to be comfortable with yourself before you can have anyone else's blessing. The sky could be aligned, the stars could be aligned for you, and you may feel like you're not 100, but the doctor says, oh yeah, it's been 6 months, you're cleared to go. And that might not be the case. So just take it, like you said, we talk racing all the time, but life lessons are blessings in disguise. So take the time, go get your blood work done. It's important to know where you're at, where your levels sit.
True words. A true word we also have is next Tuesday. We're right back here. This show airs regularly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Competition Plus outlets, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Well, we're going to have Whit Bazemore on the show. I have been waiting for this one, Sam. I have been waiting.
Lee, I think this is one of those episodes where we just, we always like to ask all the questions, but I think we make this a little bit more interacting. I think you and I have our first, monologues back and forth. I think we have the insider come on and we ask, maybe 2 or 3 questions, but I really want the fans of this show, the people that, every week that tune in, your Mikeys, your Drag Racing Centrals, and all these guys. I want them to get a bigger
Kroger
opportunity
sucks.
too.
Don't forget Kroger sucks.
Kroger sucks. Yes, Kroger sucks. You have Scott Mile Pass. I mean, you have these, these DRC. I'm just trying to make sure I get to everybody. I'm kind of scrolling through the comments here. Who else has won? American Hot Rod, of course. Darren.
Osterhouse. Mr. Osterhouse is often here.
Mr. Osterhouse. Kroger Sucks did ask a question about Wilkerson's team.
No update.
Yeah. So, Lee, I honestly think we give them a show, one of these shows that says, oh my God, hold on. We know sugar's good. Like, who doesn't like a little brown sugar on their bacon? Like, I mean,
and the further down in the pile, the better.
Exactly. Like, I hear it all the time. They're full of energy, sugar. That's why I drink water, and I'm going to brush my teeth and probably drink like 3 or 4 more of these. But I think we give them an opportunity to ask a lot of questions. I mean, let's make this show more interactive. That way you can tell your friends, your family, hey, I got to ask a question on this show. What do you think about that, Lee?
I think we got a good opportunity with Whit coming on that I know a lot of people have some questions and definitely he'd be one. And he will tell you, Whit Bazemore does not mind telling you. And that is a rarity in life, but also in the world of motorsports and drag racing where we are today. But he does not mind telling you. And it's just... Again, Whit's got such a fascinating story from an individual that, yes, fan, but even documenting the sport. I don't think people realize that there's so many photos you look at that are iconic drag racing photos, and Whit Bazemore took them. So, photographer, funny car racer, and it's going to be interesting to catch up with him, what he's doing now. From what I understand, he's big into bicycling, and he still goes out and does his photography thing. So looking forward to hearing from him, man. Everybody, you need to be here next week. And if your question was not answered and you're looking for it to be answered, you can catch the replay. The replay, it will be, you got to let YouTube render it, or you can catch it on Facebook, but you can watch the show afterward and go back and forth and find the spot. Stevie Fast Jackson on tonight. Scotty Cannon on tonight. Bobby Bennett with Insider. I'm Lee Craft, the Monday Morning Racer, and that is Slammin' Sam, co-host here on the Competition Plus Power Hour. End it, Sam.
You guys go back, like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, check it out on Twitter. Go out and like it all. If you guys do have comments, please send us your comments. We are interactive with you guys and questions. Please let us know. But you guys, keep the pedal to the metal. Keep your health in line and in check. Stay healthy, stay fast, drive fast, take chances. And till next Tuesday, God bless. Peace.
Classic car owners, make your headlights over twice as bright with Holley Retro Bright LED headlights. A plug-in replacement for those dim halogen seal beams, Retro Bright maintains that classic look and lasts 6 times longer. Stay safe and click the link below to learn more.